In addition to having in-text citations, APA format also requires you to have a references section at the end of your paper. We'll talk about the basics of how to create a references list now. Note that if you include a citation in the text, it must also appear in the references list. And if you include a source in the references list, it must appear in the text and have an in-text citation somewhere. For example, see here how I've cited Herbert et al. 2018 in the text. This means I should also have a corresponding reference starting with Herbert in the references section at the end of my paper. If Herbert et al. 2018 was included in the body of the text, but not in the references section, that would be an issue. And at the same time, if Herbert et al. 2018 was listed in the references, but you did not cite it or refer to it in the body of the text, that would also be a problem. So make sure all of your in-text citations and references are accounted for. In the next few slides, we'll go over how to format references for some common things you might cite, like articles from scholarly or research journals, books and articles from websites. There are many other types of sources that you might potentially cite, and there are specific APA formatting rules for each of these. For example, if you want to cite films, videos, podcasts, tweets, web pages, YouTube videos, or something else, you'll want to check out the resource on the APA website to find out how to properly format them. For now, we're going to focus on some of the more common types of sources in the next few slides. First, we'll look at how to format a reference for a research journal article. Research journal articles are what your professors might call peer-reviewed or scholarly sources. Here's an example of a reference for a research journal article. First, you start with the name of the author or authors. Write out the last name and then the first and middle initials. Note where the commas and periods go. Next, you have the publication year in parentheses, then the title of the article. When writing out titles in APA format, don't capitalize every word, only capitalize the first word after any colons or question marks, and any proper nouns. All other words should be lowercase. After the title, insert the name of the journal where the article came from, and this is in italics. Here, the name of the journal that this article is published in is called Personnel Psychology. Next is the volume and issue number of the journal. The volume number is written in italics, and the issue number is written inside parentheses. After that, add the page numbers of the article. And at the end, you will insert the DOI for the journal article. DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. You can think of the DOI as a barcode for research journal articles, but it's also usually presented as a link, and if you click that link, you'll get information on that article. So it's helpful to include that. Next, we'll look at how to format a reference for a book. Start with the author names and the year in parentheses, just like we did with the scholarly journal article. Then insert the title of the book in italics. Again, the same rules for capitalization apply. Capitalize the first word after any colons or question marks, and any proper nouns. All other words should be lowercase. Then at the end, include the name of the publisher of the book. In this case, Cambridge University Press. Next, we're going to look at an example of a reference from an article on a website. In this case, a New York Times article. As usual, start off with the author's last name and initials. For articles on websites, you want to include the month and day in addition to the year, if applicable. Next, insert the title of the article, again following the same rules of title capitalization as before. Then insert the name of the website in italics, the New York Times. Finally, paste in the URL or web address for the article. And you'll want to kind of test that to make sure it works.